Well, puns are life. Like, you don't even know how satisfying it is the moment you start getting the language down to the point where you can make puns in a language that's not your native language. It's very satisfying.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. My name's Adrian,
And I'm Alex.
and today we have a special guest. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Anna from Double Proficiency. I'm a graphic designer and a writer working in the tabletop industry, making pretty books and board games. I'm currently working on my first solo big project called Herbalist Primer, which is a book on real-world magical plants for RPG use.
I think, I've seen a lot of the imagery, and it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Of course. What brought you to create the Herbalist Primer?
Well, I've been in love with botany all of my life. I come from a long line of botanists and gardeners. But mostly the direct inspiration was the fact that we were in the middle of a global pandemic last year in May. And I was sad and started doodling flowers. And then I put them on the internet, and people were asking me if I'm making a book. So I made a book. I've been peer pressured into making a book on magical plants, and I regret nothing.
That's the peer pressure we're here for.
It's definitely the best kind.
Actually, what is one of your favorite plants that you've kind of talk about in your Herbalist Primer?
It's probably wormwood, the type that you're using to make absinthe. It's one of the most magical plants of the European folklore. Basically, it's supposed to protect you from everything from evil spirits to lightning to arson to people stabbing you in the kidneys to witchcraft. It's supposed to keep monsters at bay. You can throw it at wild animals to make them go away. It's this kind of a absolutely amazing plant that you just carry around with you to protect you from evil, and then you can make booze out of it. So there's nothing better than that.
It's like a catch-all. It does
It
almost a
is.
little bit of everything.
It is. There's many protective plants in the folklore, but wormwood is definitely the strongest and the one with the biggest scope of potential protective qualities.
Awesome.
But there's so many other plants that have, a wide variety of properties, like finding secret treasure or making you invisible or attracting love or making curses disappear. There's just such a giant variety of magical uses that just makes it absolutely obvious that we should use magic plants in our RPG games because it's already there.
Right, right. There's not like a book out there yet. I mean, a lot of third party individuals have to like make that for the game because some people aren't as knowledgeable as well you and your lineage are.
Well, even if you think about it, we use like Harry Potter has all of the magical herbs, right? Wormwood is still something that's used
Hmm.
even within like most. So really, we're just stealing from other places. Like it's all just copy and paste. And I think wormwood is an interesting one that's your favorite because it has a very wide range of magical uses. It's found in like a lot of different religious texts and magical texts, and I just that whole intersection of magic and religion and healing, I just is something that I really like to look at and to find the, I don't know, commonalities between those things.
Oh, definitely. It was a venerated herb by so many cultures, and it was considered definitely one of the biggest gifts of nature to humanity until one point at the end of 19th century when one of the French physicists decided that he's going to prove that wormwood and absinthe are the reasons for societal decline in France, and he wrote a lot of scientific, let's call it, publications proving that drinking absinthe is the reason for everything that went bad in France, and that's why absinthe got banned in so many countries and why it's until this day considered a dangerous drink, because one physicist just decided to prove himself right. And that's why wormwood has such a bad opinion nowadays, but it used to be really, really venerated.
That's interesting. He's just like self high-fiving himself into like the truth.
Well, he wasn't the first and he wasn't the last scientist that decided to prove himself right. Of course, we did outgrow the idea of using just herbs as a medicine because they have so many contradictory compounds that just healing somebody with herbs is just not the best idea. We can do better these days, but personally, I would prefer to go to the forest than go to the pharmacy, even though I do understand that medicine is necessary.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I think that's interesting throwing in these like folklore kind of items, but also these actual items. So like in my game with wolves, I put in wolfsbane into
Mm-hmm.
it. Oh, it's supposed to protect you from these creatures, but in the game, in the actual text that I bought, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing about like the what is and isn't supposed to happen with these kind of plants, and I'm like, I'm just gonna have to make it up from what I remember from all the television, books, and things that I've had developed or have consumed that incorporate wolfsbane. And I'm like, will it kill them? Will it poison them, the wolves, or will it kind of like cause them to have this like a barrier if it's like spread around? Does it mess with their senses? Like I've had to like on a whim create what's supposed to happen as a DM
Uh-huh.
for my game, but it got away from me because I felt like, am I giving Wolfsbane its justice, or am I just like bastardizing it?
Yeah, wolfsbane is actually quite interesting. It's the first plant I've described from my book, the one that I went to the internets with. And actually, in folklore, it's supposed to be something that you can use dried flowers to create a circle of protection that's going to keep vampires and werewolves at bay. And also, you can create an ointment or any other kind of a preparation that will impede shape shifting abilities. So you can sprinkle a vampire with some aconite water or something to stop them from changing into wolves or bats or a mist, and then you can stab them.
That's awesome. I think we did this like at the very beginning of the campaign, and I think they
Mm-hmm.
haven't used too many of them. I think like if they remember, hey, I still have like one left to fight the big bad evil guy, it'll be a beautiful moment.
Oh, I'm sure it would be. It's always nice when the stuff comes up again.
Oh yeah, for
It
sure,
just
for
gives you
sure.
this payout.
Oh yeah. The payout, long-term payouts are so great when they don't know what's going on. They don't know what they have in their hand, the power that it holds, and they're just like, "Well, I don't know if it's this useful or not." I'm like, "It is, but I can't tell you."
Oh yes, that's definitely fun. Sounds like you have a pretty cool campaign there.
Oh yeah, it's full of vampires and werewolves. They're about to hit the end game and fight the big bad
Mm-hmm.
vampire king. So it's gonna be great.
I'm sorry, Adrian. Are you trying to get through this whole conversation without
Yes,
saying
I
Curse of
am.
Strahd?
Yes, I
No, 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 no.
am.
You can't do that. You can't do that
I
to new
can't. I was
guests.
trying
Absolutely
to.
not. The disrespect.
I mean, Curse of Strahd is pretty fun.
Yes, but Adrian is trying to get through this conversation with you of describing his werewolf and vampire campaign and
It
not
is. It
let
kind of
you
is.
in on the inner secret that it is Curse of Strahd. And he's just like, has this fun, kooky campaign.
It's not. It's
It's
vamp.
not fun and it's not kooky, I know.
It's so dark and depressing.
I mean, I did check out your podcast, so I know what you're playing.
Ah,
Hey.
someone did research.
Of course, I did
Me.
research. I am a researcher, like specifically. That's my job.
Oh wow. She's got it down. If you don't mind me asking, what do you research?
Well, I'm technically a librarian, as in I have a MA in librarianship.
Hmm.
So I'm researching whatever is my obsession at the moment. Currently, it's botany and the occult, but
Mm.
I do go down many research holes very often. It's like I find a new topic, jump into a rabbit hole, and come out 3 days later.
With all this knowledge. Yeah, my roommate's actually a librarian as well. His focus is in history
Mm-hmm.
and war tactics and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
that's
he,
cool.
oh yeah, I have him and another friend online just start speaking and like, well, this, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, but a lot of it's going over my head because I have to start researching stuff too because they're not explaining everything to me in layman's terms.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so interesting to for them to like fight and like what tactic would have been better or why this empire fell and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I my partner Jakub that I work with is also a history buff, and he's a fan of strategy and tactics. So we also have a lot of those conversations at home. We actually wrote two system neutral supplements. I mean, Jakub wrote them. I made the layout and made them pretty. Called
Mhm.
Duelist and Conqueror. The first is just to make melee combat fun, and the other one is to run large scale mass battles. They are all available at Drive for RPG. Sorry for a plug. Basically, what
No,
they
we're gonna ask you to plug this stuff later as well.
they both introduce different types of moves and stances and tactics you can use in combat just to make standard D&D or any other game you're playing more fun. Because let's be honest, it's not that interesting if you're playing a fighter and all you can do is attack twice. Or with action surge,
Right.
attack 4 times.
And that's once per rest, and it's
Yeah,
like, ugh.
like I'm not really sure what was the direct inspiration, but we did play some D&D, and Jakub got bored of the options for the melee fighters.
They could do so much more. Why aren't they doing so much
Exactly, and now
more?
we have moves, and you can use dirty tricks on your enemy, and you can stop them with different type of an attack, and maybe they will respond in a way that makes it a proper duel, or maybe not, and just have fun.
Yeah. And that's what's the main focus about, playing at a table with your friends is to have that fun.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
I kind of change things on a whim if like this is not going to be what they wanted. This is going to be
Hmm.
boring to them because, I don't think this is the outcome they wished for. And like the book doesn't say this, but I'm like, it needs to be in our favor. It needs to be for our fun, our story to tell. So changing the core rules sometimes might be beneficial for your game.
Oh, definitely. We're mostly playing Shadowrun, which is a game in which you
Oh, that's
don't want to
crunchy.
play the rules as written because they're
Oh
terrible.
yeah. I've tried to play Shadowrun. I think I want to say like 4 years ago. And for those that don't know, Alex, Shadowrun's a D6 system which goes on glitches and crits, and really cool idea. But it gets really technical. Like I hadn't known all the like my players did something that I didn't know what to do. They threw a grenade. I'm like, okay,
Ooh.
it's going to blow up in the next round. What do I do? And I hadn't read the rules for like jumping initiative, and so my bad guys didn't get obliterated
Uh huh.
immediately, and I'm like, I have to. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to pause, or this thing's just gonna be over right now. Let me see. It was unfortunate, but it's just very crunchy that I haven't been able to get back into it because I don't know. Some people haven't been able to be, or I haven't been patient enough to kind of relearn the system or relearn all of the
Oh, it's
system.
definitely one of those systems where the best way to start playing it is have 20 years of experience playing it. It's like it's very hard to get
Gotcha.
into, but once you're in
Oh yeah,
there,
for sure.
you hate to love it and love to hate it.
Well, I guess since we're talking about like other growing out to other TTRPGs, what was your first TTRPG experience?
I actually started playing when the third edition of Dungeons and Dragons was released in Poland because I went to the bookstore and there were some beautiful books in Polish and I didn't speak English then and that was the only thing that was available. So I played third edition D&D with my brother and my cousin. We had a lot of fun, even though we didn't really realize that the game master was supposed to be a separate player. So we had 3 players and had a round robin type of dungeon master. We were just switching places, and that was fun. And then I learned it's not the standard way of playing, but it definitely made some. Well, we quickly learned how to not metagame, because when you're both a player and the GM in the same session, you learn how to separate the two.
Really, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a big part. And then once I got to high school, I actually picked up a more regular team, and we were playing Pathfinder mostly and Warhammer, second edition fantasy roleplay. And from there, I just delved deep into whatever was available.
That's amazing. That experience of, like, as you not knowing the rules made that like experience very unique, and having a round robin and not like metagaming, which unfortunately a lot of people have troubles with when they've had so much experience. It's very interesting. It's very awesome. I bet that must have been great. Like everyone just like you and your 2 other players just like, oh, this is gonna happen. Oh yeah, well I think this should happen too, and just like this very like more like balanced collaborative storytelling that we
It
had.
was. It was exactly that. Because we were running a single story, but it was run by basically 3 game masters because of that.
Hmm.
So we were just taking turns and making sure that it spins in a direction
Yeah,
that can be followed from. And at the end of every session, just another person would pick up and come up with the challenges for the next time. So it was so much fun.
that's absolutely amazing. I love that.
Yeah, we were like 12.
Exactly. Your mind is so like vast, and like make believe is still like kind of there before it gets crushed by reality later on. But yeah, 12. Yeah, that's amazing.
No, I can't see. Here's where when people come on and say, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 12, I remember 12-year-old Alex, and there's no way I would have understood the rules without somebody like doing it for me, because I was still trying to wrap my head around like Monopoly, or that's it, really, because my family didn't play board games. Just the general rules of games that we've known and loved forever. So I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I think it's amazing when people are like, I played and I learned the rules as a child. And then, Anna, you come in and say, we were switching DMing and we were not metagaming. So that's a really interesting, I guess, background to Dungeons and Dragons. Do you still feel like you have no problem not metagaming?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with people just min-maxing and enjoying the game however crunchy they want. But yeah, metagaming is not a problem for me. I understand it's a basically shared storytelling, and that's how we play it. And that's kind of the idea that we have behind the games we are creating. They are all very, very high on player agency scale. Basically, all the campaigns we're running also run on whatever the players want to do. That's because we mostly play sandboxes.
Hmm.
And it's just, I do not believe in the idea of the GM being the absolute god of the game, because that's hella boring and it's just a power trip. So yeah, I that's it. It's a game for everybody at the table, and Game Master is one of the players, and we are all supposed to have fun.
All right. I kind of want to get into your kind of graphic design portions for Herbalist's primer. And this is you drawing everything and creating everything, correct?
Yeah, it's me.
It's absolutely beautiful. And I wanted to ask, what was your favorite one plant to draw?
Hmm. I don't know. I think it's like every time I draw another one, that one becomes my favorite,
Yeah.
which would mean that my absolute favorite is the one that I made for the sample spread, which is the Datura stramonium, the thorn apple. But there are just some that I absolutely despise drawing.
Okay, what about those then?
Uh,
What was difficult about them?
like if I have to draw another celery type plant, with they have those giant inflorescence of white flowers that are just tiny, minuscule, like hemlock or parsley or celery.
Hmm.
They are just so freaking boring. You just draw 200 identical tiny flowers, and then you zoom out and it's just a bunch of squiggly lines, and you don't even feel like you made any progress. So yeah, I'd rather draw some roses or a single sunflower than a whole bunch of tiny little flowers. It's just pure hours of drawing squiggly lines.
So the one flower is mightier than the many flowers.
Definitely, yes. Although sunflowers are also composite flowers, it's not a single flower.
Mhm.
It's a whole flower head, and it's just. But it looks better on a page. Yeah, the drawings that I made are basically inspired by 19th century herbals, like botanical guides, mostly published in the 19th century. They are all made into public domain by Heritage Library. I'm butchering the name because I forgot how it's called, and I would check, but I can't be bothered.
I'm here for that energy. Yes, please.
Yes. And the images are also based on public domain photos that I found on the internet because I can't imagine how a specific flower looks like, because it's actually quite hard to draw from imagination if you're trying to create something that specifically exists in the universe. So the most of the pictures are just based on the photos that I taken myself or I found on the internet. They're in public domain, so we could steal them, but we don't have to.
What is your favorite? I guess not. I think rule set or like, uh, why can I think of the name? Game systems to play for TTRPG.
I would say Shadowrun because it's absolutely terrible and I love it. But we are currently actually working on a brand new system, which is called Project Aphelion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this strategy RPG that you can play on different layers of complexity. You can play it as a standard RPG with a group of players and a GM, or you can play it as a fleet of spaceships and just upgrade your playstyle into several different spaceships that you send for exploration, or you can play it as a whole organization or a government on a strategy level and just deal with the intrigue and politics. It's basically a D10 based system which comes with dice pools and has a changing difficulty level, changing target level, depending on your skills and the modifiers from like Outer World. It's actually a system that I playtested as a solo game. It's not designed as a solo game, but we found it super easy to use it in a solo game. And I played a whole ass campaign in it, and it was the best time of my life.
Those layers are for real, like different complexities altogether. That's interesting though. The how the system can be kind of like, you know, brought down to the like a single spaceship or a fleet or an organization. I think that's pretty great. Amazing. It's something
Yeah,
that I can't.
it's really cool.
Yeah, it's something I can't comprehend in my head, to be honest. In the creation wise.
Well, it works like that you can create that everybody in the group can create their own character. Like in normal game, we also have a choose your own adventure type of a character generation. So you roll the stats, and from there you go through different stages of life, like in Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you played Traveler, but you have this choose your own adventure type of a character generation, and you go through stages, and you can pick up skills and roll for different things, and that's how your character path, the backstory is created. And you can also connect to that other players during the character generation. So at the end of the process, you have a whole crew that already have some connections in the backstories and common goals or maybe opposing goals. And the whole group is basically a faction, and the faction can be used in strategy layer to connect to other factions in the solar system and create trade unions or agreements, or just start hunting pirates or become a secret police if that's your jam. Like there's options are endless, but it all works on a very simple system that's absolutely modular, and you can zoom in and out on complexity. If you're not into tactical combat, you can just resolve it with one roll. If you're not into talking to people, you can resolve it in one roll. But if you want, you can run a whole scenario that's basically a conversation between two people with different objectives on both sides. It's a lot of mixing and matching, and it's very, very modular, and it very much depends on the what players want to do, because as I said, player agency is key,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the most fun.
That's so cool. I saw something on your page. This mod module is Step Right Up that you worked with Justice on, which we had him on previously. How is it working with other individuals in the TTRPG space?
Oh, it's actually great. That's where I started as a layout artist in RPGs, just making books for other people. I actually worked with Justice on two projects. On his first Devil's Advocate, which was the supplement with contracts for dealing with devils and demons.
Mm-hmm.
And then we looked again at collaborating when he was releasing his adventures Step Right Up. Justice is amazing. He's a great person who, well, when he was releasing Devil's Advocate, he was just starting. It was his first proper project on DM's Guild, and he was probably the most organized person I ever met by that time.
That's amazing.
So that was just, I have never seen files so well organized. Yeah, I actually work with a lot of people in the TTRPG industry, and it's always so rewarding to see the books that I help to create in the wild. It just makes me so happy to see people enjoy the layout and playing the games that they helped make pretty. So as much as I like working on our projects and writing my books, I don't think I will ever stop working on commissions, because it's just so rewarding. And also it's much less work than creating my own project.
Yeah.
So you have the return on investment very quickly.
Nice. So, I mean, we've talked to a lot of individuals who've kind of collaborated with each other. We've talked to Justice, we've
Mm-hmm.
talked to Anthony, and I want to know how easy or how hard is it to kind of like approach a someone like you who kind of, creates layouts as well as, creates its own systems, or how are you approaching other individuals for assistance, or how does that go about?
I mean, if you want to approach me for anything, just send me a message through the contact form on our website, or through Twitter, or through Discord, because I'm on a pile of Discords and I'm very easy to find. So the question of approaching me doesn't exist. Just like send me a message, hit me up if you want something. It's usually other people that ask me if I have some space in my schedule for creating layouts. I'm sometimes sending emails to bigger publishers when I actually get to updating my portfolio, which I'm like probably most artists way behind on. I should definitely update my portfolio at some point, because I have like backlog of 10 projects that I should put there.
Gotcha.
So once I get through it, I'm gonna send another bunch of emails to people with, "Hey, maybe hire me. Have you seen my portfolio? It's updated." I mean, that's exactly how freelancing works. So, but other than that, I'm kinda in a standing agreement with Exalted Funerals. Like I create layouts for them quite often, which is also kinda why they are publishing my book, because the moment I had 2 pages made and people were peer pressuring me into making a book, I wrote to Matt from Exalted Funeral with, "Hey Matt, I have 2 pages of a book made. Do you want to publish it on Kickstarter?" And he said yes.
Awesome.
So that was a year ago.
That's pretty great. The question was brought up because I have an individual in my party who started to make his own like adventuring paths or campaigns or little modules, and he was
Mm-hmm.
just like, how easy is it to actually get in contact with other individuals? And he was just kind of like worried and kind of concerned. So I just wanted to see it from your perspective. as someone who has already worked with other individuals?
Well,
Yeah.
it's probably easiest to just join a couple of Discords, whether the official Drive Through RPG Discord or DM's Guild if you're more into D&D, and you can just and then you realize that basically all of the creators that you maybe look up to are just the same fans of the genre that you are, and just send them a message, and that's it. Like, we are all just fans of the same hobby and trying to create something cool in it. There's the barrier to contact somebody is really low these days.
You mean we're all humans, all looking for connections and to share things that we like with each other? Wow.
Well, when you put it like that.
I think that's a big problem though, because it does feel very overwhelming when you have this project that you feel passionate about, and to be vulnerable in that kind of way of, once you start asking other people if you can do the thing, then you become subject to criticism if you listen to it. Someone's like, no, this is dumb, I don't want to do it. Then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to lock myself in this box forever and it's never going to be opened again. And I may really love it a lot, but because somebody told me they didn't like it.
Right. I completely get what you're saying. Actually, before I started working on Herbalist Primer, I had this idea of making some kind of an adventure primers, a book that would cover basics of adventuring, like how to ride a horse, or how to change a horseshoe, or how to take care of your equipment. And basically, I think after a second post on my Twitter account that I made for this project, somebody commented, well, players don't need to know that. It's enough that their characters know that, so nobody ever gonna care about it. And that's where I stopped that project. I mean, I will get back to it at some point because I'm 2 years older now and I have 2 years more of confidence and way more interest to give to comments like that. So I will get back to that, but it did stop me dead in my tracks, and I haven't really progressed with that project. But yes, unwelcome, like unasked for criticism, that's basically, who cares? It's very much tiring, and it definitely clips your wings.
Yeah. And I think that it's easy to get caught up in criticism because I feel like that even though it might not be for that individual, it might be for somebody else. And as long as you're passionate about it, and I didn't learn this lesson until like much later, but whenever I was like trying to do stuff like, and the people were like, no, that's dumb. Oh, well, yeah, no, I guess it is dumb. My reality is shifting, and I can't ever do this thing again. So, it took time to figure out like, as long as I'm having a good time creating this thing, it'll be great to have it out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, it's super important to have a supportive community around you, and to be honest, the moment you start talking about your project, you will find some people that are gonna try to, tear you down, but you will find others that are interested. And like, it's important to build that community around your project, because it really not only keeps you accountable, kinda, to just keep on working on it, but it gives you this boost of motivation that's always needed when you're working through a very long project. Because let's be honest, working for a year on a project without any kind of support from the outer world is just damn hard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And going back to horseshoes, like, I'm
Yeah.
on TikTok way too much, and I always get stuck on like I was gonna say horsekeep or housekeeping, but the like horsekeeping, right? Like, I
Uh-huh.
think that's fascinating. I've lived in like major cities for the bulk of my life, and I've seen a horse like at Girl Scout camp, and
Uh-huh.
like I know horses exist, but I don't know any husbandry of what you need to do to make sure your horse is healthy. And I love watching them clip horse nails. I love watching just horses be groomed. Like, I'm just outing myself that I spend a lot of my time watching other people take care of animals. Like,
You're outing
No,
yourself.
I get it. I get it. Uh, we actually took our kids to the horse riding lessons first time 2 weeks ago, and it's so much fun. Like seeing them play with horses and learn how to groom them, and I completely get it. Like there's so much information and skills that we stopped considering as important, but they are. And let's be honest, most of us are playing fantasy games, and those kinds of things like blacksmithing or horse husbandry or I don't know, armory. It's just something that we're drawn to. At least I am.
No, I yes, I absolutely agree that all of the I think we give up skills that were needed at one point in our lives as humans, not necessarily individual lives, just like through the history that I mean are cool now, right? It's been so out of fashion that it's cool again. But, you know, how do we use those technologies to like apply to the future? Because there's no way that we did all of that and then for them to be completely useless at this point. So yeah, like armory. We don't fight well, we fight each other, but we don't need plate mail.
Yeah, actually, I live with a professional sword fighter and an archer. So I learned how to be an archer. We have an archery range in our backyard. So that's fun.
I'm
But
obsessed.
That's
I'm
absolutely
I'm really
amazing.
bad at fencing, so I'll learn at some point. Just footwork is not yet there. But I have somebody to teach me.
Is that what we all need in life? Just somebody to help out and teach us things, and we teach them.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the purpose behind the book I'm writing,
Mm-hmm.
because like I have a whole bunch of ideas for making this into a series of primers on those skills that we kind of forgot, but they are super cool and we get to revisit them in games. Pardon. So that's like this is a primer for a herbalist that focuses on herbal magic and herbal medicines. I also have plans for like magician's primer, which would introduce the methods of divination, for example, that were used for centuries in various cultures, like divination from the way birds are flying or from the flames or other stuff like that. And also it would be cool to make a book on cryptography, and it would be cool to make a book on magical animals and how to take care of them, not in a J.K. Rowling style, because that woman should be removed from the public life.
Amen.
Um,
Oh man, the
yeah.
disappointment she brought to our lives.
I used to be a big fan of the books, but I have purged my house from whatever Harry Potter merchandise I had,
That's
And
nice.
because there.
everybody's collective heart broke at this moment.
Well,
I know,
yes.
no, yes, she done did that to herself, but it just like, yeah,
Well, there are more important things in life than being a stan for the books that created your childhood a bit.
yeah.
In any case, yeah, I'd love to write something about like historical methods of blacksmithing or taking care of horses, and just it's all those things that I find absolutely amazing and absolutely fascinating, and I love learning about them, and I found that I really like telling other people about them because I can't contain my excitement.
I mean, that's beautiful. I think you're like your excitement is flowing into your project, and your project's also kind of like pushing your excitement, and it's just this like circle of just like, yes, I want to do this thing. It's amazing.
I mean, yeah, that's how it works. I just get obsessed over a subject and then want to tell the whole world about it. So I'm gonna be writing books from now on.
Absolutely wonderful. Do you have like an easier time because you have the access to all this library knowledge, or do you have to still search things on online and stuff?
Well, I have a whole bunch of botany and occult books at my home because I've been collecting them for most of my life.
Hmm.
But I am very much using also online sources because they are obviously what's available for most people and they are great sources that should be used. I have the privilege of working on a subject that was mostly developed in 19th century and before 19th century, which means that most of the prime sources have been digitized and are available in public domain, which makes it super easy to actually find them and use them to whatever advantage I can find. There is just such a giant wealth of free and publicly available like cultural sources that I feel are greatly underappreciated and underused. So I'm very happy to bring them back into, let's call it, public eye.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously in a very small way, because this is not mass publishing. This is not a giant project that's gonna reach millions of people. It's just a book in our small indie RPG world.
Right.
But I'm doing what I can.
Not reaching millions of people yet.
I mean, it would be cool, not gonna lie, but let's be realistic.
It's really funny that we're talking about like free domain things as well, because I honestly use them for like theater, right? I use them because you can get away with not having to pay people and you can do things for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then, help grow projects and whatever like that. But I keep seeing free domain things popping up all over my social media pages, just my general doom scrolling, and I think it's such an underutilized resource that we have all of these things that are available, and it's there. People use them. Go use them. Go look at them. They're cool. I guess they're so uncool that they were free now.
I completely agree. Actually, the Herbalist Primer is the first project that we released that I actually like drew the illustrations for, even though they are based on public domain photos. They are actually hand drawn and painted. But everything else that we used uses the public domain art that's already available from various websites. I should probably compile a blog post about those resources. But the whole history of art is basically available for everybody to use. We're living in an era where you can just reach all of that wealth of information and of culture and reuse it and create something new out of all of the old stuff that didn't lose anything on its value. If anything, it just lets you be a, I don't know, jumping off point to create something new. And we really shouldn't be, not doing that. I mean, I understand people want to have new and bespoke art for their projects, but there is also value in just bringing attention to the stuff that is already there. I mean, I love it. I love art history. I've been studying it for most of my life. It's just something I very much enjoy.
And even thinking about how a lot of art for a lot of time was not accessible to everybody. Being able to study somebody's art, you had to go study with that person. But now I'm really interested now seeing, like, thinking about all of this, that the next generation of artists, like, what is going to be done. Oh, it's so cool because there's so much more, like, there's so many more resources that you can you can find. So if you want to be an art, you don't necessarily have to just go to college and go to university, but you really could become an artist just through the internet.
Yeah, it's kind of the same that we talked about getting into the RPG industry, that the barriers are lowered and there is so much less gatekeeping because you don't have to go through the institutional gates. Like, to be an artist, just like you said, you don't really need an arts degree. Most of the people that are creating art these days do not have art degrees. All you need is will to do it and the portfolio you probably should update.
That sounds like
I
it's on
mean,
your mind.
it's on my to-do list for months. But yeah, it's basically that these days all you need to do to create is sit down and create. And sharing it has never been easier. Like, With self-publishing and with all the websites that allow you to publish your stuff without any any startup costs, it's basically you can release the stuff that you create into the public and then market it, because otherwise nobody is ever going to find it. But there is the barriers to create and the barriers to make something worthwhile, if that's what you want to do, are really minimal at this point, which is great. For some reason, people are still thinking that modern art is something that's like dirty urinal in a museum, but that was in the 20s and 30s of the previous century. That's not modern.
Right.
So people just don't realize that we're still creating art and it didn't stop, and it's just so much easier to do right now. And there are amazing artists in the community, and seeing them also just popping up in the TTRPG industry, creating all those indie games that are absolutely amazing and unique and refreshing and so much different than the traditional games like D&D and Pathfinder. That's just joy to behold.
Absolutely love it. I have a question. When you played your first game, what was your first character?
That was actually a human ranger
Hmm.
in third edition D&D, which means that she was absolutely useless, like absolutely useless, because third edition rangers were the worst, because you either had everything organized over the single favorite enemy, and then you could do all kinds of shenanigans, or you were fighting with somebody who wasn't your favorite enemy, in which case you basically would be better just hitting them with a stick.
But at least you had
She was
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
She was fun, but I'm pretty sure I respect into playing wizards almost exclusively since I usually just create some kind of a shape-shifting witch,
Nice.
like whatever is the version of it in the game that I'm playing.
Absolutely amazing. And what is, I guess, it's you've talked about Herbalist Primer, you've talked about Duelist, you've talked about I'm gonna butcher the name, Alf, your project for the scoping system,
Abhelion.
Aphelion. Thank you.
Hmm.
What is something else that people should be looking out for?
Oh, we actually have those really cool encounter decks. It's called Wayfarer's deck. It's a whole series. There's 9, and actually I finished writing the 10th one yesterday, so I need to do the illustrations and layout probably tomorrow. But they are illustrated decks that comprise of 50 cards each, and you can just draw a card and you have illustrated encounter from a specific biome or a genre like gothic horror or Arctic tundra. And those are encounters that they're not combat encounters. They're basically just ideas for something that can happen, like full of they are generally rather eerie, mysterious, with puzzles and riddles, sometimes vistas. We use them as encounters, and you can also use them as writing prompts. We just got some printers proof, so now they are all actually available as physical copies as well on Drive-Thru RPG.
Nice.
And we have a bundle, so you can offset the shipping costs. So yeah, that's one of the coolest things that we have. I'm actually really proud of them because they look awesome, and to be honest, the print on demand quality is way beyond what I expected. So the cards are shiny and in beautiful colors, and I'm very happy with them. I literally got them yesterday on my desk, so,
Gosh,
so they're amazing.
I gotta check some of those out then. I do love the sense of randomness that not everything is made up by me, but like something that like I think I want a monster, I think I want a puzzle, I think I need a prompt, and then I can move on from there.
Yeah, and it's like I know that many people are creating lists of encounters that are just random tables that you can roll and whatever monster attacks you.
Hmm.
But we found it so much more fun where you have a physical deck and you can just draw a card, because it just gives you this small tactile element, and also you can just pass the deck to the player that, I don't know, is sitting on a watch.
Yeah.
to see what's happening. And then it's on them. They picked the card.
Yeah. Shuffle
Whatever
and
happens, it's their problem.
hey, I didn't do it to you. The deck did it to you.
You picked the card.
Absolutely lovely.
Yeah, we were just trying to mostly make travels more interesting, because we were playing a campaign that had a lot of traveling but very little exploration rules. So we decided to make it more fun.
Hmm.
So we made the first deck that was for the tundra, the Arctic adventures. It was around the time that Rime of the Frost Maiden was being released. So we decided to make a deck with Arctic encounters, and it just spiraled from that.
I have got that book, but it's on the back burner until my campaigns are done because playing multiple campaigns can be a little bit much.
Yeah, I get it. We don't really play D&D much these days, mostly because we're playtesting our systems.
Yes.
We also have a campaign of Call of Cthulhu going on slowly. I mean, it's just starting, so we will
Gotcha.
see how long we will survive there.
Oh, I have totally wanted to check that out for sure. One day, I'll
One
be a
day.
player, or I'll just have to, buck up and learn the system and be the DM again.
Aw, are you a forever GM?
Mostly. I have the opportunity of knowing a lot of GMs who are willing to do like one shots, and that's where I'll get my hit, and then back to the plotting of my player's demise.
That's fun.
Oh, absolutely. It gives me like such a high that yeah, okay, literally yesterday we ran our session long like an hour and a half longer than usual, and I was just like lore dropping and like twisting the plot, and but to make a long point short, it's fun to be a GM and having the reactions of your players of like, oh my gosh, and things clicking together.
Oh,
So
totally.
amazing.
I'm mostly getting my hits of playing from playing solo games,
Hmm.
because I'm
Are you
I'm
also
working.
forever?
Uh, Actually, no. I usually have Jakub, that's forever a GM for our group. I always say that I'm gonna run the next game, but the next game never happens, because I'm usually working very long hours, like every day, and finding the time to prepare a campaign is just. I would have to just make a sandbox and drop people into it, because I'm perfectly happy just improvising everything and creating just a sandbox world and then extrapolating on whatever the players want to do. But I first need a couple of free hours to do that, and I'm probably gonna use those couple hours to work on my book. So that's not gonna happen. So maybe in October. I want to play something now. Oh, soon. Soon I'll have the
Yes.
time to actually play.
Exactly. Well, we really appreciate you spending the time with us
Oh,
and talking with
that
us.
was my pleasure.
So, is there anything that you want our listeners to find you, or where can our listeners find you?
Best way to find me is probably on Twitter under 2x proficiency, because double proficiency is too long for Twitter. Or you can find us on our website, doubleproficiency.com, which is easier to remember. You can also find me on Discord if we share some servers, because I'm under the same name there. So I'm very easily findable. And I'm very happy to make new friends.
Like, yeah. And as we found out, that you just have to ask people to pick their brain, and they will love it.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it was a brand new information for myself, but ever since I learned that, people are generally happy to be asked about stuff, and they're more than happy to give you their opinion. It might not be the opinion you would like to hear, but it's available.
yeah, I don't know why that just does not click in my brain that people would be willing to just talk. It surprises me every single time that we have a new guest. Like I'm like, no, why do people want to talk to us? We still want people. Okay, we can. They still want to talk about whatever it is. So I don't know why it surprises. It does. It surprises me. Long story short. But thank you again. Thank you, dear listener, for joining us for another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. Be sure to share with your friends, families, players, DMs, GMs. You can find us wherever pods are casts. You also can find us on all of the social medias, and you can check out our Patreon, because with your support, we can keep on going and bring in new and fantastical things to the world of Dungeons and Dragons and just general mental health things. So thank you for, as my dogs start to bark, thank you for joining us for another episode.
It was wonderful talking with you, Anna.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun here.
Thank you so much, Anna. And thank y'all for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
Go have some fun.